Oh, yeah. Coming up next, we have the dope dad himself. That's right, Rico Lamitte. When Rico is packing up boxes, and we don't mean for shipping weed, we're talking about it's moving time. That's right. So if anyone is out there is looking to help Rico move, he is looking
Oh my
for
God.
volunteers to come help him box his dishes and all of Zozo's toys. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
My damn meme fucking.
Yay! Woo!
Anybody wants to help me move, I actually pay in dollars or weed. So
You want to give me a plane ticket, bro?
I don't pay plane tickets. So and I'm sure you're not on the no. You are still on the
He's
no fly
definitely
list.
on the no-fly list for sure.
Anyways, I can be as quick as possible with mine today. It is a doozy coming out of Politico from Natalie Ferdig. And my question to everybody: is the Chinese Communist Party the primary funder of the illicit market in American cannabis? So, given today's geopolitical climate, it's a question guaranteed to generate more questions than answers. Two words that can broadly describe international politics in 2022: rough and redefining. The rough parts: Russian invasion of Ukraine and the China-Taiwan crisis that we see going on, continuing now. The redefining part was the United States finally acknowledging China as its true superpower rival. Last October, the Biden administration issued its second national security strategy, declaring the post-Cold War era officially over. But it also identified China as its current most important security challenge, making China a new boogeyman to replace a declining Russia. Before I continue, I think it's important to acknowledge the national security strategy's sketchy roots before blindly following another U.S. government-sourced propaganda piece designed to drive more of our tax dollars into the military-industrial complex, all in the name of keeping Americans quote-unquote safe. The United States National Security Strategy, or NSS, is a document prepared to be annually delivered by the sitting executive branch, outlining pressing national security concerns and how the sitting administration plans to deal with them. It was a byproduct of the Goldwater-Nichols Department of Defense Reorganization Act of October 4th, 1986, signed into law by none other than Ronald Reagan. The act completely overhauled the U.S. military command structure, with the most significant changes to the U.S. Department of Defense since established in the National Security Act of 1947. Note the dates. Basically making the sitting U.S. president and joint chiefs of staff the two most powerful people in the world. Basically, the NSS is an annually updated Cliffs Notes for U.S. government propaganda to look out for in the following year. Have you guys noticed a major uptick in media coverage of escalating U.S.-China tensions from late last year until now? I know I have. Today's story falls right into that category, offering more open leads and follow-up questions and actual answers as to where all the money being poured into an estimated 75% of the $100 billion U.S. cannabis industry is coming from. Military experts and historians say the recent shift to a U.S.-Chinese bipolar power structure will shape a new world order. I'm not sure what the fuck that even means, but I guarantee it's scary enough for a few people at least to buy more guns. Several decades of Chinese economic and military growth has effectively closed the gap between it and the United States. Mexican cartels have a long history of illegally importing, growing, and redistributing cannabis in the U.S., but with multiple Western states seeing an increase of Chinese workers and funding at unlicensed cultivation operations, folks are beginning to connect new dots. The California DCC says Chinese investors, owners, and workers have emerged in recent years as a new source of funding and labor for illegal marijuana production. In Natalie Ferdig's Politico piece, she cited interviews with state law enforcement officials, quote unquote experts on the international drug trade, economists, and lawmakers as reliable sources. Very interesting there. Chinese owners and workers have become a larger presence at illegal grows in Oklahoma, California, and Oregon they say. In Oklahoma, close to 3,000 of the state's nearly 7,000 licensed marijuana farms have been flagged for suspicious activity by law enforcement over the last year. Those operations are now being investigated for obtaining their licenses fraudulently and or for selling into the illicit market, according to Mark Woodward, a spokesperson for the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics. The agency believes 2,000 of those farms have a Chinese connection, supplying workers, funding, or both. Of the more than 800 farms the OBN has shut down in the last 2 years for operating illegally, roughly 75% are linked to China. There was no evidence produced in there. I would comfortably say over 600 of those we've linked to Chinese investors, Chinese organized crime, some sort of nexus back to China. And I'm going to stop right there and summarize the rest. The PASS Act is a bipartisan bill co-sponsored by Dave Joyce and a bunch of Republicans, using the same playbook the U.S. government has for generations to demonize and ramp up enforcement of non-white operators in the U.S. economy, hiding behind the tried and true guises of protecting the children and keeping our weed pesticide and fentanyl free, because that happens everywhere else. They say that the PASS Act would put more scrutiny on Chinese ownership on farms and help thwart the illicit cannabis problem. It is specifically limit the ability of investors or owners from China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran to acquire American agricultural land and agribusinesses. It would also require Chinese investors or owners interested in purchasing the agricultural land or other agribusinesses to prove that they are not linked to the Chinese Communist Party. The CCP is involved in everything illegal and illegal coming out of China, so they obviously just don't want any kind of business relationship with Chinese, illegal or not. Republican co-sponsor Senator John Tester knows that signing the PASS Act into law would further encroach upon civil American freedoms and lead the nation into deeper division in the long run, similar to Bush II passing the Patriot Act. But he also knows anything's possible in America with enough noise and money behind it, or he would not have provided this closing quote. Look, it's not going to be easy to enforce, but it can be enforced. Furtick's Politico piece is an interesting read, but disappointingly, is a very disappointing one as a activist or as an advocate. And from my point of view, is the trap currently funded by Chinese government connected gangsters? Probably. Is the United States government funded by past and present blood money pulled off the backs of non-white slaves and immigrants, misled taxpayers, and global corporations that don't give a damn about your rights or well-being as a citizen, so long as the machine keeps moving? Yes, I'm more concerned with the latter. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street. Like to hear what you guys think about this one.